Psycholinguistics. Dr. Flatty said that once he had a patient. She had a right hemisphere stroke. She fell on the floor and she remained there for 2 days. It doesn't mean that nobody came to her. Her husband asked her, but she said that she was all right. The 3rd day, her husband brought her to the hospital, and there, when the doctor put her legs up and showed it to her, she very indifferently said that it was somebody else's leg. So, why and how it happened? Reviewed in some detail the various features of language that people use to produce and understand linguistic message. So, the answer to our question lies in this subject, which is known as psycholinguistics, in which we review some details and the various features of language that people use to produce and understand linguistic language. So how do we understand language or messages? So that is a question. Where is this ability to use language located? Obviously, everyone's answer will be the brain. But we have a bigger brain. Where? Which part of the brain? So the obvious answer is in the brain. But which part of the brain? However, it can be just anywhere in the brain. A simple person who is not educated in sociolinguistic or medicine will simply answer somewhere in the brain. Psycholinguistics or psychology of language is the study of the psychological and neurobiological factors that enable humans to acquire, use, comprehend, and produce language. So, this is what the definition of the subject is, that how we acquire language, use language, comprehend language, and produce language. So these are the questions. These were the questions which confused man for a lot of time, that how it is possible that we use language, we understand language, we produce language. So the discipline is mainly concerned with the mechanism in which languages are processed and represented in the brain. So in psycholinguistics, we look at the mechanism with which we understand language and then we produce language. So psycholinguistics has roots in education and philosophy. So we get help from these two subjects and covers the cognitive process. The cognitive process, basically how we think, how we reason, how we memorize something. So when we talk about these things, we are actually talking about cognitive process that make it possible to generate a grammatical and meaningful sentence out of vocabulary and grammatical structures. So psycholinguistics basically studies that how we learn language, how we combine sounds to form sentences, and they are meaningful. They have their structures, their sound, their semantics. So in psycholinguistics, we discuss all these things, but basically how we understand language and how we produce language.